California, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have ourselves a jam-packed show for you all as I recap the Clippers lost to the Pelicans in the play-in round. Yeah, the Clippers laid an egg in that game, which is disappointing, and they also laid an egg against the Timberwolves. What happened to the Clippers? And what was disappointing about this season? Also, the Galaxy did not have an El Trafico hangover, and they have had some winning ways. They've won 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Can the Galaxy keep it up? They have a long season up ahead of us. And the Dodgers, Angels, and Padres are obviously going different routes. Are they going in the right direction, or are they going south to loser? And also, we have some Dum-Dum of the Week awards to hand out. Just because it's not the SoCal Supreme Sports Show without the Dum-Dum of the Week. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your directory for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for tuning in on this beautiful Sunday evening. Yes, I am back on the mic for a second time. I had to make up for some lost time when it came to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I didn't want to go 2 weeks without doing a show, but I am here now. I'm glad to be back on the mic when it comes to doing the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Keep on the lookout for announcements, some personal announcements going on toward the end of the show. But without any further delay, let's get on into that SoCal sports action. But first, we have a word from our sponsor. iSports Radio is proud to call the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team the official sponsor of iSports Radio. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in the hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to tryout for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get the second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, and on Facebook by typing in the word Southern California Warriors. And they're really cool people, and once you get a feel of what semi-pro football is, you'll want more. And iSports Radio is on Twitter and on Instagram at iSports Radio, and on Facebook by typing in the word IE, then sports, then radio. And a little message from iSports Radio is that they have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and when you click the link, you will go to their website where you will find a Patreon link with the first amount starting off at $5 a month. This donation will get you a shout-out from all 32 of iSports Radio shows, and higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to ISRU, our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on our flagship show, The Defining Moment, with Larry B. Because going on 8 years now, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to bring you amazing to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. In addition, we've also been doing shows dedicated to all sports, for the most part. All the while, IE Sports Radio has been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans. And with your help, IE Sports Radio is ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you all for your support of IE Sports Radio and helping make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. And this Thursday is the NFL Draft, correct? IE Sports Radio is excited to announce its third annual mock draft challenge has returned. The rules are simple. Predict all 32 first-round picks to the best of your ability. No trades, no modifications, no tricks, none of that. The participant who has the most accurate mock draft will receive a shout-out on all of our shows and a chance to have an IE Sports Radio hat or T-shirt, your choice. For more information or to submit your mock draft, please reach out to Mike Pat at Let's1_IESR on Twitter. His Twitter handle will be in the description of the show. Best of luck to anyone participating. Also want to give a shout to Marcus Losgrid and Bay Area Raised Apparel for their support on Patreon, for IE Sports Radio's Patreon. We really do appreciate your support. And also we have to give a shout to IE Sports Radio's Fan of the Month, Marcy_Vargas88. She is a Green Bay Packers fan hailing from Mexico. I'll be talking a little about the Packers in a little later on in the show, but without any further delay, let's get on in to that Southern California sports action let's discuss the Clippers. Let's get the Clippers out of the way. Okay, so the Clippers were the number 8 seed when everything was all said and done when it came to the end of the regular season. The Clippers had themselves probably the most up and down year I've ever seen. And obviously no Kawhi Leonard, Paul George wasn't 100%, and they had to shuffle their lineups practically every now and then. We talk about how the Lakers had to shuffle their lineups when it came to injuries on their aspect, but for the Clippers, they were without Kawhi Leonard all season. He didn't play in one game, and Paul George wasn't 100% healthy either. So the Clippers got to face the Minnesota Timberwolves at Minnesota for the right to be the 7 seed. Unfortunately for the Clippers, they fell just a little bit short. But to their credit, they really gave the T-Wolves a whole lot to bite on. Just because, obviously, you're on the road. It's never easy. And all in all, it was just tough. But they fought tooth and nail, honestly, as they lost to the Timberwolves 109-104. Not too bad of a result considering the Timberwolves had themselves they were pretty much snake bit when it came to making the playoffs. Also, we have to make note that the Clippers did a really good job on Karl Anthony Towns. He struggled for the most part. The problem was that everyone else was just giving the Clippers fits, such as Anthony Edwards. And even Pat Beverly was in on the action. And I liked Pat Beverly after the game. He was basically celebrating like they just won the championship. In Minnesota's defense, they haven't won a whole lot, and it had been, way too long since the Timberwolves last made the postseason. So I think everyone in Minnesota deserves some sort of hats off on making the playoffs for the first time in what seems like forever. So I didn't really like everyone saying, congrats to the Timberwolves on winning the NBA championship, and Pat Beverly, and I didn't like how people were just bashing Pat Beverly. I thought it was pretty mean, if you ask me. I mean, Pat Beverly is that type of guy who will do things that'll get him berated, but honestly, let him have his moments. Like, Pat Bev is a real cool guy, and while he does try to get in the heads of everybody, it's in his character. Like, it's what he does. You don't like it, you have to find a way to stop him. So that's just my opinion. So that meant the Clippers had to, I repeat, had to beat the New Orleans Pelicans, otherwise they would miss the playoffs. The Pelicans were able to defeat the San Antonio Spurs, and the Pelicans were the most up-and-down team probably anyone's seen. They start off 1-12, but they had a chance to make the postseason. But the Clippers were obviously not going to let the Pelicans get the best of them, right? No. Unfortunately for the Clippers, they got the bad news that Paul George had entered the NBA's health and safety protocols, and he was out for the game against the New Orleans Pelicans, which I couldn't believe that happened at such a worse time. That probably was the worst time to happen for the Clippers. A team without Kawhi Leonard, and basically a team that was still trying to scrap their way into the playoffs. It's really disappointing, honestly. And as a result, without having Paul George, the Clippers wound up losing to the Pelicans 105-101, and that dashed all their playoff hopes. And for the most part, it looked as if the Clippers were actually going to win this one. It looked like they were going to win. They were up 18 going into the final quarter, and all they just needed to do was play smart basketball. Unfortunately, the Clippers made it hard on themselves, and they wound up losing, getting outscored in the fourth quarter 31-17. Brandon Ingram, the former Laker, pretty much did damage for the Pelicans, and now the Lakers are probably kicking themselves for getting rid of Ingram. Though it worked out in the end because the Lakers won a chip, but I digress. So, what was so disappointing about the Clippers season? In their defense, they had to deal with injuries, but you look at the Golden State Warriors. They had to deal with a boatload of injuries. No mas, and you're not getting a pass when it comes to the injury excuse. Every team deals with injuries, especially the Lakers. So, for the Clippers, I wouldn't say it was a disappointing season. I think people didn't put a whole lot of expectations on them, more so than the Lakers. But when it comes down to it, I thought the Clippers had a good shot at making the playoffs. I at least thought they were going to be the 8th seed. I think everyone would have liked to see Suns versus Clippers, which would have been a rematch from the conference finals from last year. Unfortunately, the Clippers didn't even get to the postseason. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Once again, they at least got to the play-in game, which I can't really say the same for the Lakers. But they never really got the traction to stay within the top 7. I'm sorry, not top 7, top 6. And it was just disappointing for the Clippers, just straight up losing. And this, believe it or not, it actually marked the first time since 2018 that the Clippers and the Lakers failed to make the postseason, which is kind of funny if you ask me. But overall, the Clippers, I wouldn't say their season was a big wash. I don't think anyone really expected a whole lot from the Clippers. Now, if they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, then I think it would have been a whole other story. But for the Clippers, it's just a year where they're probably just going to say, what if we had Kawhi Leonard? And what if Paul George wasn't hurt throughout a good chunk of the season? For the Clippers, they're obviously going to need... I think they have a good core going with Tyronn Lue. It's just that they're going to need Kawhi healthy. They're going to need to bring in star players. They have to make do with what they've got. They don't have too much draft capital because they traded a majority of that for Paul George. So overall, I think the Clippers are going to look back on this season. I hope it motivates them. I hope for Kawhi Leonard's sake, he gets back at it and he's able to get his butt back onto the court. Not rushing him or anything. It's just that the Clippers aren't anything without Kawhi. I think Kawhi would have definitely been beneficial for the Clippers. How beneficial? Probably at least making the first round. As Gina says, have a great show, go Dubs. Yeah. We don't care what the Warriors are doing. I see you. Gina says, the Warriors are the only California team in the playoffs. Yes, I am fully aware of that. And all I can say is good luck. I just talked about the Warriors, saying that they dealt with injuries, and the Warriors, or not the Warriors, the Clippers don't deserve a pass when it comes to the injury excuse. Yes, they were without Kawhi Leonard. No, every other team had to deal with injuries, so no, we're not using the injury excuse. So overall, it was a complete wash when it came to the NBA, when it came to the Southern California teams. It was a complete wash, and I expected at least the Clippers to get to the first round, but unfortunately they couldn't get there. I just feel that it was just so inconvenient that Paul George had to enter the health and safety protocols, which is like, it came at this type of day. It came on the biggest game of the season, and now he's in the health and safety protocols. C'est la vie, I guess. I still wonder if the Clipper curse is actually real. I mean, I'm not one to use the C word, but maybe. But overall, that's pretty much that for the Clippers. There's not much to really say. I mean, the Clippers did all they could to try to possibly make the playoffs without Kawhi and Paul George for a majority of the season. It sucks, but what can you do? So, like, the Clippers, to their credit, they actually ended the season with 5 straight wins. Wins over the Bucks, which they rested their starters. The Pelicans, ironically enough, to start the second game in May. They beat the Suns, which they almost collapsed 20, 30-point lead. They clobbered the Kings and the Thunder, which isn't all that impressive, but all in all, the Clippers had the momentum going into the play-in game or the play-in tournament. It's just that they just could not grasp that momentum, and losing Paul George didn't help matters, but it is what it is. So on to next year, I guess. I guess this is Los Angeles is paying the price for the Rams winning the Super Bowl. So now the sports gods want the Clippers and Lakers to miss the playoffs. I don't know. I'm just messing with y'all. That's not true. All right, but that's going to do it for the NBA portion of this show. I do need to wonder one thing. Now that Gina's in, the Warriors did lose to the Nuggets, but they are up 3-1. There's no doubt in my mind the Warriors are going to win the series. This kind of makes me beg the question. And this is a cheesy question, but this is a question I must ask. Did the Lakers break the Nuggets? I mean, obviously today, the Nuggets looked so much better, even though they only won by 5. But did the Lakers somehow break the Nuggets? Like, part of me kind of was hoping the Warriors would sweep them, but I really need to wonder, because the Lakers won their last game of the season against Denver in thrilling fashion. However, it didn't mean much for Denver, considering they were just resting everybody and just preparing for the playoffs. So, yeah, well, that's just some food for thought. I think it would be pretty funny. It would have been funny if the Nuggets had gotten swept. Then we would have seen all of Laker Nation come out of the woodwork and say, the Lakers broke the Nuggets. Ha 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 ha. Unfortunately, we have to wait a few more days to come out of the woodwork and use that claim. But that's irrelevant because the Lakers and Clippers are not in the playoffs. So, yes, Gina, no more LA teams. You can celebrate now. Anyway, that's going to do it for the NBA portion of the show. Let's jump to some NFL action, because I admit it, I'm not really prepared. I haven't been really on the NFL mock draft train. 1, because I've been super busy with life, and 2, I'm not really the best at NFL mock drafts. So, going back to what Gina says about the Nuggets, she says possibly because the Nuggets haven't looked good until today. So, okay, at least Gina somewhat agrees with me, kinda. But going to the NFL side of things, so the NFL draft is on Thursday, and I've been pondering this question a whole lot for the Chargers. Who do they draft? I'm seeing speculations that they're going to draft a wide receiver. I'm seeing speculations that they're going to draft a corner, an inside defensive linebacker, or they're just going to go offensive line. I don't know what the Chargers need, honestly. I feel the Chargers need to lean more so defense. That's because their defense was not good. I really think the Chargers should draft Jordan Davis. I really think they should draft Jordan Davis to help out their run game situation. This would kind of lean toward Linval Joseph leaving the Chargers just because I think he's a free agent, and he is a free agent. So for the Chargers, they can go anywhere in the draft, and they could probably lean toward best pick available. I would highly recommend them staying away from Kayvon Thibodeau, just because he has had injury history, and guess what the Chargers sometimes struggle with? Injuries. So I really want Jordan Davis. If anything, I don't really see the Chargers needing a wide receiver, or desperately needing a wide receiver, because they have Keenan Allen. They re-signed Mike Williams. They tendered to Jalen Guyton. They still have Joshua Palmer on his rookie contract, unless they got rid of him, which I don't think they did. So I don't know why people are saying the Chargers need a wide receiver. Like, yes, that would give Justin Herbert more weapons offensively, but that wide receiver would probably be wide receiver 3, and I think that would be, I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking. Like, it would be cool to have Drake London staying in LA and playing for the Chargers, but I don't know. I think the Chargers definitely need to lean toward more so defense, just because if they could have a young cornerback core, they could finally get rid of Chris Harris Jr. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Chris Harris Jr. needs to be released. We don't want him anymore. He's getting cooked by younger players. Like, the dude committed a pass interference penalty when it came to the most uncatchable ball against the Raiders. Get him out of here. He's got no business here, as Stephen A. Smith would say. Please. Anyway, it would help out J.C. Jackson, as well as Asante Samuel Jr. and Michael Davis. So, we'll see. I highly doubt Sauce Gardner is going to fall all the way down to the Chargers' lap. Like, I think Jordan Davis has a better chance of falling down to the Chargers more so than Sauce Gardner. But if Sauce Gardner is available, then Chargers should go ahead and pick him. Like, at this point, it's looking like the Chargers are going to go best available pick when it comes to the draft. The only thing is they're just not going to draft quarterback, because they already have that quarterback situation filled, and they don't need another one. So that's basically my speculation of the Chargers. Again, my wish list is probably Jordan Davis just to help out the run game, and then obviously maybe cornerback. Then offensive tackle would be great to help out Justin Herbert, because the Chargers' offensive line wasn't bad, but like, they had their moments, but it could obviously be better. You can never have too many good offensive linemen. So I think going offensive line would also be good. Help out Rashawn Slater as well. So we'll see. Like, I just don't want the Chargers to go offense. Well, okay, not offense, but like, I just don't want them to go like wide receiver, running back, or anything that's not an offensive tackle when it comes to the offense category. So we'll see what happens this coming Thursday. Now, the Rams, I haven't really speculated a whole lot. I imagine they need like offensive line help, or maybe running back help. But they don't have a pick till round 3, so it's just going to be best available player for the Rams. And I feel their wide receiver core is pretty much good to a T, because they've got a lot on their team. They have Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson. The list goes on and on. If anything, they may go running back, because they have to make decisions on Sony Michel and whatnot. So I think best available for the Rams going down the line is going to be their best scenario going forward. I still don't understand why the Rams traded Robert Woods for a 6th-round pick. Like, for a team that doesn't really love draft capital, the Rams were very quick to pull the trigger and, snag that 6th-round pick for Robert Woods, which I feel bad for Robert Woods. He tore his ACL, and unfortunately that was that for him. So, overall, I'm not too concerned about the Rams just because they don't have they don't have a first or a second, and their team looks good for the most part. Maybe they could lean toward more so defense, considering they lost a few pieces of defense to free agency, but offensive line help to protect Matt Stafford wouldn't be too bad either, so we'll see how it goes. But that is that for the NFL draft. I do plan to get my mock draft into Mike Pat before the deadline approaches. It's just that it's going to be a little bit tough. So, considering I've just been so swamped with work and whatnot. So, we'll see. Jumping on over to the MLS, the Galaxy have not been disappointing ever since winning El Trafico, as yesterday they beat Nashville 1-0, which is awesome sauce. Last week, they tied with Chicago 0-0, and then on this past Tuesday, they beat San Diego Soccer Club 1-0 in the U.S. Open Cup 3rd round. So, good job for the Galaxy. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't have an El Trafico hangover. Next opponent for the Galaxy is Saturday on the road against Real Salt Lake. That's kind of going to be an interesting game just because Real Salt Lake was one of the teams that helped knock out the Galaxy from last year. I feel the Galaxy should be motivated to try to take them down, considering, like I said, that was one of the teams that knocked out or that prevented the Galaxy from making the playoffs last year, and it sucks. So we'll see what the Galaxy can do against Nashville. Their lone goal scorer at home was from Dejan. I'm gonna butcher this game. Havlicic. Either way, he actually came in as a substitute as he was able to score. So good job to Dejan. He scored in the 86th minute, which was very nice. So it's a good win, honestly. Winning at home, and Nashville's a solid team considering they're in the Western Conference. So I really think that is going to be helpful for the Galaxy going forward. My thing is that they can't get too high on these wins, just because Real Salt Lake is going to be a little bit bigger of a test. And it's still early in the season. There are like 8 matches that are going on that teams have played, 9 tops. Currently, the Galaxy are 3rd in the Western Conference, but they can't get too comfortable. Like, it seems like every year is very paradising, as Andrew Hagenboss said this on the Soccer Scoreboard show earlier today, that the MLS is kind of like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. And sometimes these powerhouse teams that do really good this year, that do really good last year, are kind of taking a step back or two this year. As you look at powerhouse teams like Seattle, they are number 11 in the West. Same, and Sporting KC is right behind them. And then Colorado, the team that was the regular season Western Conference champion, or the number 1 seed last year, is currently number 10. So it's early in the season, yes. However, you just can't lose like 2 in a row, because if you lose 2 in a row, you have the potential of not being able to recover from that. And the Galaxy know all too well about losing games left and right and then not being able to recover, because like I have been mentioning last year, the Galaxy were never outside of the top 7. Never, ever, ever outside of the top 7. Until the final day of the season, where they tied with their opponent and Real Salt Lake won. So that's what the Galaxy need to avoid. They cannot let it come down to the final day of the season where they get bounced and it's just a major disappointment. The same can be said for LAFC, as they won today against Cincinnati 2-1. In the third round of the U.S. Open Cup, LAFC defeated the Orange County Soccer Club 5-1 on Wednesday. And then last Sunday, last Sunday, LAFC defeated Sporting KC 3-1, which was very impressive. It was actually a very impressive win, although Sporting KC is, like I said, taking a step back a bit. But it's still an impressive win coming off of an El Trafico loss. Like, LAFC lost in the most heartbreaking way ever, and that was kind of due to VAR. And I get it, VAR is no excuse to blame, but honestly, losing in that fashion is just complete garbage. So, for LAFC, they've won 3 in a row. I think they're kind of on track. They're still leading the Western Conference. Like I said, their only loss was to the Galaxy, and they've only have one draw in the season, which was courtesy of the Portland Timbers, which they're a solid club. So starting off the month of May, the Galaxy are back at next Sunday at home against Minnesota. Currently, Minnesota ranks 5th in the Western Conference, or they're currently number 5 in the Western Conference. I think that Minnesota is going to be a challenge for LAFC. I think, no offense to Cincinnati, who is currently the bottom dweller of the Eastern Conference, I think that's going to be a major jump from, in terms of skill level, when it comes to LAFC facing Minnesota. And that could prove pivotal when it comes to Minnesota this season. As Mike Pat says good evening, and Larry B says something funny. I'll get to what he said, but Mike Pat says, did I miss NFL draft talk? Yes, you did. I basically was talking about how the Chargers should go best player available when it comes to the first round, but I'm hoping they mainly go defense. My wish list is probably Jordan Davis out of Georgia. If not, they'll draft a corner. I also hope they kind of go offensive tackle, possibly. I just don't think they need like a wide receiver or a running back or any of that sort. I just think offensive tackle, inside defensive linebacker, corner is their big priority. And then Larry says, something about SoCal Sports. They're awesome! In capital letters. Thanks, Larry. So back to LAFC. Believe it or not, LAFC actually trailed against Cincinnati. They trailed 1-0 at halftime after Luciano Acosta gave Cincinnati a late goal to end the first half. But then LAFC actually turned the switch on that said you actually have to play the game of soccer instead of cruising by your opponent. As Kellen Acosta and Daniel Musovski scored goals in the 59th and 79th minutes of the second half to give LAFC the win in regular time. So, good job to LAFC and how they're on a 3-game win streak following El Trafico. So, again, I feel their schedule's actually going to pick up a little bit. So, they have Minnesota next Sunday, and then the following Saturday they're at home against Philadelphia, which that's going to be a real good one. Best in the West versus best in the East, and boy howdy, if serve holds when it comes to those two, we could, hence the word could, see them in the MLS Cup. However, it seems like LAFC seems to find a way to not win when it comes to playoff time. So there's that right there. And then they've also got the Portland Timbers on Tuesday in the round of 32, which I believe is the U.S. Cup. Then they've got Colorado, which that's I believe that was one of the teams that prevented LAFC from making the playoffs last year. Then LAFC has Austin. Now, the strange thing about Austin FC, is that they're surprisingly the number 2. They're second in the Western Conference, which is rather amazing. Like, keep in mind, this is Austin FC's second year as a football club. So, if serve holds, that could prove to be crucial down the line. We'll see, though. We'll see. It's really early to be speculating on who's going to be the best team in the West and who's going to be the best team in the East. And I think Andrew would like this matchup. LAFC plays Columbus Crew on Saturday, May 21st, and then the following Saturday, LAFC closes out the month of May with a home game against the San Jose Quakes. So, Mike Pat says Jordan Davis or Trevor Penning would be a win for the Chargers. I think it would be a win too for the Chargers, getting Penning or Davis. I really want Penning, I really want Davis, but honestly, I wouldn't mind it either way, as Penning is actually an offensive tackle for Northern Iowa. That's the guy I was thinking about. The dude is 6'7", 322. I hate to go back to the NFL, but Mike Pat does make some good points. So, thanks, Mike. So, that was probably the name I was seeing a whole lot. It just was blanking on it. So, thanks, Mike. So, back to the MLS. It's still early in the season. I don't think we should be popping the champagne for LAFC or the LA Galaxy doing really good things going forward until the playoffs happen. Once the playoffs happen and LAFC and the Galaxy are both locked into a playoff spot, then we could all cheer happily ever after. But something I do need to make note of when it comes to the Galaxy's so-called good start is their goal differential. Their goal differential, believe it or not, is +4, which, I mean, compared to Real Salt Lake's -4, it's good, but for being the third best team in the Western Conference, they don't really make it easy on themselves, that's for sure. I'm just saying, man. And Columbus Crew is actually +1 when it comes to goal differential, but they're the Eastern Conference, so that's comparing apples to oranges, kinda. So I just wanted to make note of the Galaxy's goal differential being only +4, and they're the third best team in the conference. It seems to always happen. The Galaxy always seem to have a winning record, but their goal differential leaves a lot to be desired. So we'll see how it goes. It's like making a pot roast by hand and showing it to Gordon Ramsay and comparing it to his pot roast. It's not really comparable, but what do I know? But that's going to be that for the MLS. I can't wait to see what the Galaxy can do going forward. I hope they can continue their winning ways. I feel they have promise this year. I think this year is more promising than it was last year. Jumping on over to some MLB action. So we have quite a bit of MLB action happening. I think the last time I talked MLB was when I was with my brother, when he jumped on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So we're going to go with the noteworthy matchup, noteworthy series, Dodgers versus Padres, where the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 against the Padres. The Dodgers won the first game 6-1. Then lost the second game in 10 innings, 3-2, and then they cruised their way today, winning 10-2. Pretty impressive, honestly, especially coming off of a series where they beat the Atlanta Braves 2 out of 3 times. They beat the Braves this past Monday 7-4, then lost 3-2 the day after, then won 5-1 in the rubber match. So, all in all, the Dodgers are looking solid, and I think they're looking really good. They do have their ups and downs, with Mookie sometimes being hit or miss, but I can dig it. The Dodgers are currently a half game ahead of the Giants in the NL West. I can actually say that the Padres aren't too far back because they're 10-7, and that's actually perfect segue for them. Going into that series against the Dodgers. The Padres actually swept the Reds, which I don't think that's too surprising because before going into their series against the the Atlanta Braves, the Dodgers took 4 out of 4 against the Reds as well, as the Padres won their first game against Cincinnati 4-1 on Monday. Following day, Padres won 6-2, and then on Wednesday, in the final game of the series, they won 6-0. Not bad for not having Fernando Tatis Jr. I think that's impressive if you ask me. I think the Padres are going to have to make do without Fernando Tatis Jr. for quite a while until they get him back. And honestly, it is what it is at this point. Like, if they get Fernando Tatis back, then so be it. But if they don't get him back until that 3rd or 4th month, so then they have to do it. They have to deal with what they have to deal with. So, going forward, the Padres play the Cincinnati Reds, except it's going to be at Cincinnati, and then starting on Tuesday and ending on Thursday, and then they have another 3-game series later on the week against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So they're going to be heading up east. The good news is for the Padres is that the Reds and the Pirates aren't that good. Even though the Pirates just beat the Cubs, or I think I want to say they took like 3 out of 4 against the Cubs this past weekend. They won with the run differential of -17, which is like major oof. So we'll see what happens with the Padres. Maybe they can get their bats going against those guys. And who knows? Maybe the Padres can get hot as of late. As for the Dodgers, they have a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They have a 3-game series starting tomorrow and ending on Wednesday. Then they'll have the day off and then return to the Chavez Ravine to take on the Detroit Tigers on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's early, and it's too tough to tell when it comes to the Diamondbacks. They're obviously not doing well, but it looks promising that the Dodgers could also get hot because with how competitive the NL West is with the Padres, the Rockies, they're doing pretty good as well. And then the Giants, the Dodgers need all the wins they can muster up. Now, the Rockies have been an interesting team in terms of the past. In past years, the Rockies have always started off hot, and then they've always found a way to dip because they can't seem to win on the road. Now, is that going to happen to the Rockies this go-around? I'm not certain because it's still a long season. But for the Rockies, that's something to keep your eye on. Back to the Dodgers, I feel the Dodgers are going to be in a dogfight when it comes to the NL West, just because I think that's debatably the best division in all of the MLB. I'm not trying to bash the other divisions, but I think when it comes to the NL West, I think that is crawling with lots of talent, with the exception of the Diamondbacks, of course. No offense to Diamondbacks fans, of course, but I digress. That's that for the Dodgers and the Padres. We obviously have to get into the Angels, and the Angels aren't doing bad. My only qualm with them is their series against the Orioles. Oh my god. Their series against the Orioles was just such a... It seems like whenever the Angels are coming off of a good series, like they have either sweep an impressive team or they beat it more times than the allotted number in that series, they always find a way to lose horribly to the Orioles. Like, this past week, they took 2 out of 3 against the Astros, and then this go-around, they lost 2 out of 3 against the Orioles this weekend. So, when it came to the Astros, they lost the Astros in the first game this past Monday, 8-3. They won the second game 7-2. And oh my goodness, this game on Wednesday against the Astros, the Angels won it 6-0. Now, obviously, that was impressive, What was more impressive was that Shohei Ohtani nearly, hence the word nearly pitched a no-hitter. I think he almost had a perfect game as well. Unfortunately, he gave up a hit, which was sad. And he also gave up a walk, so he didn't really have a perfect game. But the dude nearly pitched a no-hitter against the Astros, mind you. That would have been so amazing to see. But unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. But that's so awesome that Shohei Ohtani nearly pitched a no-hitter to the Astros. I'm super duper stoked for him. Sorry, that was just me being a klutz. But overall, that was so awesome. And the offense clicked as well for the Angels. They scored all 6 of their runs in the first inning. That was that. They didn't need any more runs, and it was just amazing to see Shohei Ohtani just silence all of the Astros fans. If only it was played in Angels Stadium, I think Dodgers fans would have gotten a huge kick out of it. So as for the matchup against the Orioles, the first matchup, the Angels lost that one 5-3 on Friday. They actually were down 5-0, and they couldn't really recover, which it's frustrating because you have to beat teams like the Orioles, even though it's still early in the season. And in the second game on Saturday, the Angels lost to the Orioles 5-4, as the Orioles erupted for 3 runs in the 7th inning, and that made me sad because reasons. Today, the Angels were able to salvage a win over the Orioles, winning 7-3. They did score 6 runs in the first inning. It looked as if it was going to be an imitation of their game against the Astros from this past Wednesday. But unfortunately, lightning does not strike twice, especially when you're in Southern California, as the Orioles tied it up at 6-6 eventually in the top of the 7th inning. Fortunately for the Angels, the reigning cavalry came when they got a run scored due to a bases-loaded walk, which was pretty funny. So that's how the Angels were able to win, which, honestly, it's frustrating, but a win's a win. Joe Adele also knocked in a grand slam, which was really, 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 really awesome. And I still would have liked to win this a little bit better, but I guess I can't complain all that much. It's just frustrating that they had to freaking rally back, and they could have and should have won by more. And overall, the Angels' bullpen sucks. It really sucks. They keep finding ways to make everyone's heart rate go up. I think the Angels should offer free health insurance, and they should offer free health and wellness checks, and I think they should offer other things that'll make your heart rate go down. Just my opinion. Anyway, so the Angels have a 4-game home series against the Cleveland Guardians. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they are home against the Chicago White Sox, with their second game against the White Sox being played on FS1, which I think is going to be cool. So, looking at the Guardians and the White Sox record, it's early, and I know the Angels have suspect pitching, but I think they have the potential to at least win maybe 4, if not 5 games. I'm just saying, and the White Sox have been dealing with injuries, so I hope, hence the word hope, the Angels don't have to make it so tough on them. They're 9-7 to start the season, which isn't bad, considering they've had to face some stiff competition in the Astros. If you all remember, the Angels lost 3 out of 4 against Houston, and they've kind of been trying to pick up the pieces. So it's all about the Angels not beating themselves. If the Angels don't beat themselves, they're in business. If the Angels beat themselves within their pitching, they're not going to make the playoffs. Currently in the AL West, they are in second place behind Seattle. Now, Seattle has kind of been the team to watch for this year. I think everyone is buying on the hype train for the Mariners, and I think they all have a good reason to buy on the hype train when it comes to Seattle. I think they have a lot of good key pieces on their team. It's just that now they have to actually play a full 162 game season and actually make sure they don't fall flat on their face along the way. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the Mariners and the Angels going forward. I would like to see the Angels actually put a full 162 game season together, and hopefully their bats are able to, like, if their pitching is going to be this horrible, then the Angels will have to score at least 8 to 10 runs a game. Speaking of runs, I think it was on Tuesday where Mike Trout got hit in the hand and X-ray results came out negative, and he was just day-to-day. He's currently back in the lineup, which is great to hear. So that's kind of your Mike Trout news. I was a little worried as well, but fortunately, Mike Trout is going to be okay. I hope he's able to get back on to his dominant self. I think I'd like nothing more than to see Mike Trout do what he does best and hit dingers. We'll see what happens. It's still early in the season. Like, the Angels have only played 16 games. I think they still have potential. It's just that they still need to beat the teams that they need to beat up on, such as the Orioles. But we'll see. So that's going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. We'll actually take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got a few NCAA sports to hit, and then we've got the Dum-Dums of the Week. So keep it locked here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, your direct feed. So keep it locked here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Live.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of those shows, such as The Show That Never Sleeps with Harrison Glazer and Pierre Moss, Chi-Town Weekly with Adam Carnick, which will be airing tomorrow, and also check out Fast Break, which airs every Sunday at 5 p.m. Those two came on a couple hours earlier, as also Mike Pat's show, Let's Whine About DMV Sports, followed up mine. This won't be a regular thing, but more on that later. So I do have to make note of something. I know I talked about this on Set Point earlier. I did talk about how Pepperdine's men's volleyball team won the MPSF as they downed Stanford in 5 sets. I have to make note of that because, believe it or not, they were the only Southern California team in NCAA men's volleyball to win a conference tournament. Everyone else didn't. Long Beach State lost to Hawaii, and then there are no teams in the EIVA or the Conference Carolinas in the MIVA. So it would not have been fun to see Pepperdine losing and not one Southern California team getting an automatic qualifier. Fortunately, in terms of NCAA men's volleyball, Long Beach State and UCLA both got the at-larges. I still feel bad for Penn State. Definitely do check out that most recent episode of Set Point. So, yeah. But as for Pepperdine, I definitely got to give a good job to them. Also got to give a little bit of a mini shout-out to UC Irvine Women's Water Polo, which won the Big West Conference Tournament, defeating Hawaii in the final at Hawaii. So, good job. And Gina says she apologizes for missing Set Point. She was watching the Dubs playing, and by watching them play, she meant losing. And she is a huge fan of Set Point. Yes, Gina, I am aware of your loyalty to Set Point. Your support does not go unnoticed. So, there's that right there. And now let's get on into the full segment number 2 of Set Point. So we're actually going to jump into some NHL action, and for the Kings, they are inching closer and closer. They're getting close to clinching that playoff spot. They haven't clinched it yet. However, they're getting pretty close as they've won their last 4 games. They beat the Ducks in the Freeway Series not once but twice this past week. On Tuesday, they beat the Ducks 2-1, which they won the game in the third period. And then on yesterday, they defeated the Ducks 4-2, which that basically summarizes the Ducks season in a nutshell. Close but no cigar. They led 2-1, then it was 2-2 after the second period, and then the Kings basically just turned on, let's destroy these guys once and for all. The Kings also defeated the Chicago Blackhawks this past week 4-1. And then last Saturday they defeated the Columbus Blue Jackets 2-1. So they've won 4 in a row, and they're down to just 2 games left in the regular season. Wednesday, which is the final week of the regular season, mind you, the Kings play the Seattle Kraken at Seattle. And then closing out the regular season, the Kings play the Canucks. Now, that Canucks game could be crucial just because the Canucks are still in contention for a playoff spot. But looking at the Kings, I don't think they're going to finish anywhere below third place in the Pacific Division. And they're so close to clinching that playoff spot. I could taste it. Like, Edmonton just clinched a playoff spot, and fortunately for the Kings, they didn't lose a whole lot of ground this weekend. And also, I want to say Edmonton lost to Columbus, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they did lose to Columbus today, 5-2. So, overall, I think the Kings are in good shape. The only way the Kings miss the playoffs is if they lose out and then the team that's like right behind them goes on a tear, and the Golden Knights cannot surpass them. And looking at the conference as a whole, Nashville is the only team that can catch up with them, as well as Dallas. Other than that, I don't think any team is going to be surpassing the Kings. I think the Kings are basically good as gold, so we'll see what happens. As for the Ducks, the positive thing about the Ducks, and I can't believe I actually said the P word, positive, considering there hasn't been much positivity when it comes to the Ducks this year, is that they eliminated the Columbus Blue Jackets a week or so ago. Yeah, it was last Sunday when they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 6-4, which dashed their playoff hopes, which, all in all, it was pretty much check and mate for Columbus. But unfortunately for Columbus, the Ducks were able to get the win, and at this point, the Ducks are basically just playing for pride. The Ducks play the Sharks on Tuesday and the Stars on Friday. Maybe they could help out the Kings by beating the Stars. We'll see. But the Ducks are basically on the road for their last two games, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what the Ducks can bring in their last two games. They're currently down 6-3 to the Blues, and there's less than a minute to go. So this has just been a complete wash. They lost both times to the Kings, like I just mentioned, and they're about to head toward a third straight loss to St. Louis. So sorry, Ducks. It's just been very frustrating. Like, the Ducks had a lot of promise, and now they fell all the way down. They free-falled all the way down, which is not convenient. And from what I hear they are retaining their head coach, which Dallas Eakins will be staying with them, which has mixed feelings for the Ducks. I don't know if it's a good thing, but I don't know if it's a bad thing. And Gina says she's got to run. Hey, you have yourself a great night, Gina, and thank you for always supporting, and I appreciate all of the kind words. But back to the Ducks, I guess Dallas Eakins is going to get retained, and unless, of course, the Ducks find a better head coach, I think they're pretty much stuck with Eakins until they get someone better. So the Ducks have to play the hand that they were dealt, and for the love of God, please stop wasting away John Gibson's career. I really don't want his career wasted away. Please don't. So the Ducks just need they need to stop signing old guys and they need to start signing some young bloods. Like, Zegras has been such a great positive for the Ducks this year. However, that's kind of where the buck stops, just because this is Ryan Getzlaf's last year. This is his last week. I just realized that. I'm just not ready for Ryan Getzlaf to hang up his skates and call it a career. I'm really going to miss Getzy. I at least want the Ducks to send him off with 2 wins. Just please. It's bad enough they lost to the Kings twice, but they can't afford to just lose to the freaking their last 2 games, sending off Getzlaf like that. It would be just as worse as when the Kings sent off Wayne Gretzky when he was on the Kings, but I digress. So that's going to do it for all the hockey talk right there. Definitely do check out the Neutral Zone every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday or whenever it goes on. But before we head on out and before I send you all on your way to the new work week, it is that time, everybody, for the Dum Dum of the Week. So the Dum Dum of the Week award is basically an award I like to give out to people or organizations that do dumb things. And it could be any organization, it could be any person. No one is safe from the Dum Dum of the Week award. Now, before I give away the Dum Dum of the Week award, I actually have to give out a mini Dum Dum of the Week award. So, I was on Twitter when I saw what was going on with one of my IE Sports Radio comrades. So, what had happened was my boy Justice McGee, he is a diehard Green Bay Packers fan, and when I saw what was going on Twitter, I was like, what is happening here? And someone made like a meme of Aaron Rodgers saying that he's 4-0 against the 49ers in the postseason. And I guess that stirred up the pot when it came to Justice. And then he basically said, it was from a Rams fan that basically said that Rodgers is 0-4. And that really stirred up Justice's soup. And I will say this, he wasn't too thrilled about it. And let's just say all the Rams fans came out of the woodwork when my boy Justice said that the Rams have the most fraudulent Super Bowl ever. Now, in Justice's defense, he was defending his team. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt. The Rams have been trashed when it comes to playing Green Bay at Green Bay. However, I will say this. This is one of the reasons why I don't really go on Twitter to, like, banter. Like, if someone talks trash on the Chargers, I try to ignore it. I try to just either scroll past it or just mute or block or... Well, actually, no, I don't really block. I just mute it and then all that good. And I just go on my way. But for Justice, every Rams fan decided to come after him. Now, can I just say this? Why are we getting all on Justice's neck? Like, I eventually told him, don't listen to what the Rams fans have to say. They're letting the Super Bowl get to their head. And Justice did actually, and actually, before I continue, we got to say hello to Andrew Hagenbaugh in the chat room. He says, what up, Teran? Hey, I appreciate you for tuning in, Andrew. I'm just giving out some Dum-Dums of the Week awards as going back to my mini Dum-Dum of the Week. So this was from last week, and my first mini Dum-Dum of the Week goes to the Rams fans who were basically swarming all over my boy Justice. It's like, why are we doing this to my boy Justice? I told y'all, if y'all are giving any of my IE Sports Radio colleagues a tough time, you will be put on Dum-Dum of the Week. I don't care who you are. You cannot be going after my boy Justice or anyone like that. Like, Justice even told me they were going for his throat, and he said it on the show. Rams fans were going for the throat, and it was kind of funny to see the banter going on, and I kind of wanted to just jump in and say, man, stop your childish behavior. You're letting that Super Bowl go to your head. I really feel Rams fans are kind of letting the Super Bowl go to their head just because, well, their first Super Bowl since 1999, back when they were St. Louis, I mean, I don't think we should be like, you know, trying to like go head to head with Packers fans. And the most ridiculous thing that I saw was that a Rams fan called the Packers a poverty franchise. Okay, first of all, in order to be classified as a poverty franchise, you need to have one or less Super Bowls. I think that's what I was told. The Packers have 5 Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken, so that does not qualify as poverty franchise. The internet is just something that makes me want to tear out my hair sometimes. It's like, why are we beating all over my boy Justice? It's like, it got to the point where Justice had to create a Twitter space where it says the Rams have the most fraudulent Super Bowl in team history. And I would not blame Justice for doing that. And Andrew says Rams fans have gone crazy. Yeah, I really think that the Super Bowl has gone straight to their head, and this is concerning. Oh my goodness. So, to all those Rams fans who are basically, attacking my boy Justice, going for the throat, you're kind of the mini Dum Dum of the Week award recipient. So, I don't want to hear the excuses, man. So, now we get on into the first Dum Dum of the Week award. So, the first Dum Dum of the Week award for this week goes out to a certain amount of people who did a heinous thing yesterday. Now, if for those that have watched Family Guy, there was I forget what his name is, the Gary the No Trash Lion or Tiger. He had a saying, "Live a larbage, throw out your garbage." I wish these people kind of did that sort of thing. And that was the New York Yankees. They obviously don't know that old saying, "Live a larbage, throw out your garbage." But they not only failed to throw out their trash, they threw their trash onto the field. But it gets worse. They threw their trash at one of the Cleveland Guardians players. Yes, I said it right. And let me just say that again. Yankees fans were throwing garbage toward one of the Cleveland Guardians players. I am blanking on his name right now, but here's what I have to say about that. That's what I have to say. Okay. First of all, Yankees fans, why are we throwing trash at players? First of all, your fan base is already as bad as it is, and it gets a bad rap. Why are you continuing to do that sort of thing, throwing trash at Cleveland Guardians players? Like, it's just ruining the game of baseball, and it's ruining the fans' experience, and it's not fair to the players. It's like, that's absolutely out of line, out of bounds, throwing trash at the Guardians players. I can understand throwing trash on the field, but why are you throwing it at the players? Like, have some class. Now, I will give a tip of the cap to the Guardians players who didn't react in a negative manner and basically just retaliate. So, but for the Cleveland Guardians players, they deserve so much better than having trash thrown at them. As for the Yankees fans, I'm highly appalled at y'all. How dare you throw trash at players? Like, it's so heinous and disgusting. I couldn't believe that. It was almost so bad to be true. I didn't want it to be true, but it wasn't. As Andrew says, they made fun of Quan for running into the wall and making a play and got injured, and Mercado and Straw didn't like what they heard, so Straw climbed the fence to yell at Yankees fans. Okay, so one of the Guardians players did kind of retaliate, but it was in a good manner. So I kind of messed up a little bit right there, but regardless, it's just horrible that Yankees fans even did that. I hated that. I felt so bad for Quan for getting trash thrown at him and whatnot. So, Yankees fans, you never cease to disappoint me. But for your action right there, throwing trash onto the field and onto the Cleveland and onto Quan and all that sort of thing, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week Award recipient number 1.
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So that is Dum Dum of the Week Award recipient number 1. Now we gotta go to Dum Dum of the Week Award recipient number 2. And, okay, so on Twitter, I've said this millions and billions and zillions of times. Never assume. Never assume what's gonna happen. And don't even just try to guess what's going to happen. And Andrew says Quan is now he's out day to day with an injury, and I wish him the best. So hopefully Quan of the Guardians does get back from his injury. But going on to the second Dum Dum of the Week award recipient, I have stressed this a whole lot. Stop assuming things. Stop assuming what has been happening. So this happened on Twitter, and obviously the NCAA men's volleyball season has been a wild one. Now, what happened on the court wasn't ridiculous. What happened off the court was what was more ridiculous. So, Ball State, as we all know, is having a fantastic season, as they are the number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they won the MIVA tournament for the first time since 2002. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Great pun right there, Andrew. Obi-Wan Kenobi. But back to Ball State. Ball State men's volleyball is having a great season, and I can't wait to see what they could do. Now, their Twitter team on Thursday, I want to say it was Thursday, after they beat Lewis, kind of made a little bit of a boo-boo. They beat Lewis in straight sets. Now, obviously, they didn't mess up when it came to their matchup, but they messed up when it came to assuming that they were who their opponent was going to be. They thought their opponent was going to be Loyola, which obviously everyone picked Loyola to advance to the MIVA championships. Little did they know, Loyola actually lost their matchup to Purdue Fort Wayne. Yes, Ball State's Twitter person who was running the Twitter account assumed that Loyola had beaten Purdue Fort Wayne, tweeted out, "We can't wait to face Loyola of Chicago this Saturday in the MIVA championship." And eventually, Purdue Fort Wayne beat Loyola. They screenshotted the photo, and they basically had bulletin board material for all their Purdue Fort Wayne fans and for all of Purdue of Fort Wayne's men's volleyball team. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Stop assuming, people. That could have been easily disastrous for Ball State's men's volleyball team. If Purdue Fort Wayne was actually a really good team, if they were on the level of Long Beach State, Hawaii, or even on the level of USC, Ball State would not have won that. Because players who have to deal with that bulletin board material would have easily eaten that up for breakfast. And more importantly, they would have definitely gone for the throat against Ball State. Fortunately for Ball State, they won against Purdue Fort Wayne in the MIVA championship. But the fact that someone assumed that Loyola was going to beat Purdue Fort Wayne is kind of head-scratching. First of all, you don't know that. Second of all, that match was still going on right when you all beat Lewis. Third, did you not see Purdue Fort Wayne's upset over McKendree? They beat that team, which is more than I could say about your team, because your team which is more than I could say about Loyola, because you weren't paying attention. At the end of the day, everyone got a kick out of it, and Purdue Fort Wayne fans probably let Ball State have it. But overall, I think we all have learned the lesson here. Never assume anything. I've said this countless numbers of times. If you assume something and I find out about it, you're basically going to be Dum Dum of the Week, and I will not hold back. But for Ball State men's volleyball, or whoever runs that Ball State men's volleyball Twitter account, assuming that Loyola was going to beat Purdue of Fort Wayne, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week award recipient.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. The internet never ceases to amaze me. I also got to give a mini Dum Dum of the Week award to Dave Roberts for pulling Clayton Kershaw after when he had the potential of pitching a perfect game against the Cincinnati Reds a few weeks ago. Now, he gets the mini Dum Dum of the Week award just because, well, At first I thought he would have been the perfect Dum Dum of the Week award candidate. However, looking back at it, he did the right. I guess he did the right thing. I just would have liked to have seen. I think I, as well as other people, would have liked to have seen a perfect game from Clayton Kershaw, because we've only had like 20-some perfect games in the MLB. But I kind of lashed out and gave him the Dum Dum of the Week award during that week. However, I'm going to rescind that and downgrade it to Mini Dum Dum of the Week. So, congratulations, Dave Roberts. You are not the Dum Dum of the Week. You're the Mini Dum Dum of the Week. So, yay! Still, it would have been great to see a perfect game from Clayton Kershaw, especially since Kershaw has been getting berated by not only Dodgers fans, but all of baseball fans. So, Dave Roberts is the Mini Dum Dum of the Week from last week. Or, not from last week, from this past week. But on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for me to get on out of here, because I got to get ready for work tomorrow, and I got to edit my set point episode. You dig? Thank you everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you to everyone that listens on the playback. Thank you to everyone that listens live. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen to the wee hours in the morning, I appreciate you. If you listen late at night, I really do appreciate you. Big shout out to the chat room, and David Law, Gina G, Larry B, and my cat. A little bit of an announcement. This weekend I am leaving for Texas, so I might be able to do Set Point and SoCal Supreme Sports Show next week. I'm not entirely certain. I hope to do SoCal Supreme Sports Show later on this weekend. If I can't, I'll let you all know. I'm going to try to crank out more episodes of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It's just that the past 2 weeks I had to deal with 48 hours of working 6 days, all early AM shifts, and I had other things getting in the way. So I apologize if the SoCal Supreme Sports Show had to take a little bit of a hiatus. However, I'm going to do my best to try to get more episodes cranked out of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. On that note, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your support of iSports Radio. Thank you for Larry B for all that he does. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Go have yourself a great rest of the week. I know it's going to be Monday tomorrow. Keep your heads up. We'll get through this. If I can get through this, you can get through this too. Just make sure you're getting through this in a smart way, not a dumb way. Otherwise, you'll be dumb of the week. And I will see you probably maybe this weekend, if not next Monday for Set Point. Regardless, you all have yourself a great week. And remember, SoCal is the SoCal. Peace!